Episode 310 of the TV Dudes, recorded December 3rd, 2020. The Thes. Are we talking about 80s British punk band The this week? No. We're talking about 4 different shows, all with The in the title, and we're getting a little punchy here at the tail end of 2020. So we are talking about The Queen's Gambit on Netflix, Season 4 of The Crown on Netflix, Season 2 of The Unicorn on CBS All Access, and The Flight Attendant on HBO Max. But before we get to all that, I'm Randy.
I'm Kyle.
I'm Les.
And we're the TV Dudes. Y'all, it is getting close to time. We're going to record, I think, one more regular episode next week. And then it's going to be time for a best of.
It's funny because, we often get down to the wire with the shows that we watch. We try to watch sometimes 5 shows in a week. If it's good and there's a whole season, you want to be able to talk about how it ends because you want to know. So it can get overwhelming. But I found that as we've closed into the end of the year, I'm like, oh, wait. I'm going to watch all the TV for this year, and then start over again next year. But yeah, we're getting down to the bottom of the barrel.
They're like miles, man. They don't roll over. Like you lose all of 2020 television if you don't.
It's
get it done.
True. Uh-huh.
So I'm telling you, folks at home, if you've had something on your list all year, if I could finish it,
go watch Big Dogs.
I forgot December is a 5-week month, so there's actually 2 more shows after this one.
Is that just a 2020 thing?
Can we do our real Britathon?
Well. There's going to be a little show called The Stand that's going to drop that we're going to want to see if it makes it into the top 10, if it's good enough. And we got one more bit of anime to get to. We got a Marvel documentary series to cover. There's some fun stuff coming up next couple weeks. But this week, we are all about the. And we're also going to talk about Les is going to give us the 411 on the Supernatural finale, which wrapped a couple weeks ago. But before it's time for all that kind of stuff, you guys know what time it is. It's time for the Power Rankings.
Power Rankings.
The internet, you guys. The internet and the Power Rankings. The everything that we look at each week. Because, on the TV Dudes, the we scour the internet. And we find the scores from IMDb, Metacritic, and the Rotten Tomatoes. All right. And we get the 400-point ranked system.
I think you mean Rotten Tomatoes.
Rotten Tomatoes. But we get all 400 of the points to create the definitive ranking for what we've watched this year. And guys, we are up to 150 shows for the 2020 that we've watched.
That's a nice round number. We should cut it there. No more new shows.
Right.
That's no more shows. Yeah. We don't have any more room in our roster.
Or we have to watch 50 more.
Or we just have to drink really heavily to forget some of the shows that we've watched. I don't, if you're a youngster,
can we spotless mind this? Like, can I just excise Big Dogs and some other, I want to point at the shows I want gone.
Yeah.
Well, guys, it is a classic week in the Power Rankings. If you're a week-to-week keeping up with this saga, a couple things. One, these numbers make no sense whatsoever. It is literally like if the internet had an opinion, which just, if you think about that for a second, it's kind of scary. It means that, the number one show on this list is The Last Dance, followed by Dark Side of the Ring. So it's the Michael Jordan documentary, folled by the wrestling documentary.
Mm-hmm.
We're lucky it's not the continuing adventures of Bodie McBoatface. You should not crowdsource the opinions to the internet.
But we got some classic power ranking mix-ups. First one is in the number 101 spot, and this is out of 150. We have the Lego Star Wars Holiday Special. And what is great about this spot that it's in, we're down in insufficient territory. That's where like we don't have enough rankings to actually give it a real number. But some shows are so good that they actually rank high even with a 0 in there. One of those shows being The Great Pretender in the number 100 spot.
Oh.
So a whole 1 point higher than the Lego Star Wars special, and it's got a 0 in one of its rankings. But yeah, quality wise, it's just, a million times better. I think actually Lego Holiday Special might be a great way to introduce young kids to Star Wars. Like,
but it's so inside baseball, though. It's so about like all the different genres or all the different continuities interacting that I feel like most kids would be like, "What? Who's that? What?"
You don't think it's like a Baskin Robbins? They're dipping their spoon in all the flavors of Star Wars, just getting a feel.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah. Well, a little higher on the list, but gosh, I'm kind of surprised it's not much higher. In the number 78 spot, Animaniacs, back there with Enola Holmes and The Witcher. And Truth Seekers. Like the 78th spot, let's see, what did this Metacritic? A 60 on Metacritic. That's not a great score over there.
It's interesting though, because all those grouped together are all the same kind of like, they're all sort of nerdy shows. They all sort of make sense. Like if you told somebody watched just those 4 shows, The Witcher, Enola Holmes, Truth Seekers, and Animaniacs, they'd be like, oh yeah, I know that guy.
Mm-hmm. You know what show I didn't mention that's sandwiched in there? One of my favorite shows, maybe even one of my top 10 shows of the year.
Yeah.
Definitely top 20, McMillions.
That's a weird mix with those shows, though.
Yeah, in the 76th spot.
Odd.
I guess this is technically top half of the list.
Yeah, sure.
You're hugging that top half. Oh, actually, no, 75 would be top half. So, no.
Just outside.
Yeah, bottom of that. But here's where it gets exciting, guys, because we talked about 4 shows last week.
Mm-hmm.
And the last one was a show we had talked about earlier in the year. So we kind of had a sense of where it was going to be. And that's Rick and Morty season 4.
Yeah.
In the number 3 spot.
This is only because there is not a documentary about the making of Rick and Morty.
It's true. That would rank so much higher.
Also, I want to point out, I think we've got Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. on there in the 31 and the 32 spot.
Oh, yeah, that's probably me.
Which is going to throw the rankings off, and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. does not get 2 spots.
Yeah, sure enough. That's why the scores are so close. Yeah, because that was another one we talked about multiple times throughout the year.
Yeah.
Thanks, DJ.
But yeah, I just forgot about it. Actually, no, that last season was pretty tight. I don't know if it's 31 spot tight when you have like
right?
Dave in the 60 spot.
So much better than High Fidelity or.
Yeah. So no, that's a pretty good point. But something I want you guys to see. You notice what's in the number 12 spot this week?
I did not.
It's The Making of the Mandalorian. It fell spots, guys.
It dropped.
I don't know if people are listening to us. I don't know. We're putting it out there in the universe, but yeah, no, those rankings fell for The Making of the Mandalorian, bringing the actual Mandalorian closer in line with its DVD bonus features. But that's what you get when you ask the internet its opinion. That is, never do that. Ask us for our opinion. The TV dudes.
That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Kyle, as always, for the power rankings.
Thank you, guys.
Les, you were going to report back on the Supernatural finale. This was the end of season 77.
Yes, it's there's an X and an A, I believe, in the number at this point. It's like in Mario when you got the crown for lives.
Yeah.
Yes. So Supernatural does not actually fit our thes theme. And Randy, I'm so pleased we did not speak off mic about the punk band reference, and I'm so glad you knew it. Like, surely we're going to talk about it why we're naming it this, right? But it does fit because it is not a Supernatural episode. It is the Supernatural series finale, and like Randy said, this thing's like 15 years old, and it was supposed to die at season 5. Eric Kripke, the original creator, that was his plan. He had like a 5-year plan for the show and was going to leave, and then it kept going forward, just being like crazy popular, and it has just ended up, I believe, Sarah Gamble is the showrunner that took it over. She's on You now. Anyway, it's a show that has definitely got its problems. It is brotastic, and there's so much like like brothers not sharing feelings, time in the car kind of stuff. There's tons of fanfic for this. The show itself has a crazy meta fanfic thing threaded through it, and this last season has been a blast. If you enjoy Supernatural, you probably enjoy all of Supernatural.
Most of the fans I know of this are the super fans are women.
Yeah.
Like I know several women with supernatural tattoos. Like that is their thing. Like it is. I think that the eye candy of the two leads is definitely a big part of it.
Which I mean, and I get that, but it kind of cracks me up that this show is not particularly good with its female characters necessarily all the time.
No, it's not. No,
they have frequently added women just to die, or if women get added, it's obvious.
Are they the ones in the red shirts?
Basically, or they're brought on to be I don't know, to be very like dude bro-y characters if they are going to survive.
That would be a good name for a female character designed just to like progress the plot forward by dying. You can call him a red blouse.
Right, red blouse. Red blouse dude bro. Jane red blouse dude bro.
Number 1, number 2.
But it's a show that is a blast. They use a ton. I mean, every conceivable supernatural monster or anything like that has made it show up. And in early seasons, there's some really funny in jokes where they've seen every other thing under the sun, Wendigos, demons, vampires, all of it. And people will occasionally be like, angels? Are angels real? And they'll both be like, no, that's and like, but demons are real and stuff. Like, no, man, if angels were real, we'd have run into an angel by now. Yeah. And then they eventually do, and Castiel is a great character on the show. And at the point they're at the end of the series, they fight God. Like, angels on Supernatural are dicks, and it's wonderful. It's just hysterically funny. Angels are just really uptight fucking weirdos, and they're just dicks. And
there was a weird runner where it's not Michael, but one of the angels turns out to be Loki. Or no, he starts out as Loki and turns out to be an angel. I don't remember exactly how that went.
They have a trickster. It's Gabriel. And he's hiding out from other angels, basically. And
when Gabriel shows up, doesn't he show up pretending to be Loki?
He's a trickster god. Yeah. I can't remember what culture. They don't name him Loki, but basically he's pretending to be something else because he's crazy powerful and doesn't want to get noticed as an angel. There's a lot of weird shit like that. And this show gets crazy meta. They've done a Scooby-Doo crossover. So 2 weeks ago, they did the series finale, and it was a huge deal. When I interviewed all the gang at Comic-Con year before last, it was a big, heartfelt, like, everybody in the room knew that this was about to be the last season of Supernatural, and if the fans were really into it. The two leads everybody who works on this show definitely knows the streak of luck that they hit by having like such a fan-loved show, and like how this is, no matter what you do with your career from here on out, like you've got a base. And then COVID happened, and they got almost done with their season and had just a handful of episodes left, and all production halted.
Oh man.
And it was like, okay, I mean, like with everybody else, like, okay, it's a truncated season, whatever, it got rushed. Like, no, this was y'all's last swan song. Right. And so when it finally came back, it was very like, they reassured people the whole time, like, no, we are doing this. Like, I don't give a fuck who's where and what contract, like who ages out of what. Like, they could be gray haired and say, we're coming back and doing this shit. And so they came back and finished it out. And 3 weeks ago, the penultimate episode literally fought God, wrapped that whole thing, and the brothers rode off into the fucking sunset. Like, filter on the lens and everything, like Carry On, like rock, classic rock blaring, driving off
God
a baby,
gave rock and roll, like, to
straight
you.
up. and I got done with it and was like, fuck yeah. And I texted Randy, I'm like, we're going to talk about the Supernatural series finale, and he's like, cool, it's next week. I'm like, no, I literally just watched it. I'm telling you, that was the series finale of Supernatural. And then I looked on the, sure enough, nope, there was a whole hour of gushing about it, and then an hour of television of the real series finale. And so I watched it, and I still hold my ground that if you want to watch the series end, you can do so with the penultimate episode, because the thing that was added on is as much fan service as that Sense8 movie, only instead of doing things fans want to see, it feels like an obligatory thing no one needed. Like, the writers were like, but we've got to show them die at the end. And no one in the room went, do we?
Yeah.
Because like you don't. Like I like the Basquiat biopic from the mid 90s. I loved because that man overdosed on heroin, and that's not how they end the movie. Yes, he dies later. You don't have to end at the credits with it.
Nobody in the room said, George, that's quite a bit of green screen there.
Right? Yeah. Like this is just one of those moments where like somebody could have stepped up and said, but what if we didn't? Because this was 1 hour of literally watching Dean Winchester get killed. And while I know that at some point that character has to die, in the, entropy and the way physics and humanity just work. But at this point, he's fought everything up to and including God. And there's like, you can't show me the thing that kills him. He has to die off screen at this point. Like, and the way that Dean goes is like, I'm not going to spoil it. I don't think I should spoil it. Nobody should watch this.
Is it Dexter Lumberjack bad?
It's just stupid. Like, you know how much I love an unfortunate accidental death. Like, so-and-so hit a table and now that like humans are squishy and then you die and like you shouldn't have hit the edge of the metal or whatever. That's basically what happens. Like something just random kills Dean.
That's weird.
And then Sam grows old and dies too, and they both go to heaven. And it's
gave rock and roll
it's just an hour of like this really crappy tiny story that you know is not. I don't want a story of the week. It's the last episode, and then a long like 40 minutes of two people dying. And so, like, you could have just wrote him into you literally wrote him into the sunset. All you had to do was not make this.
Having seen the Dexter finale and not this, I can tell you that last season of Dexter is actually not that bad if you skip that final episode. Like they literally were just like, oh, we're not making the show anymore. Here, bye guys. And that was the final episode, Lumberjacks.
So I stand by my. I know there were people that were mad in the previous episode, the finale that I did like. There were people that were super mad at how Castiel went out.
Yeah.
And they bring people back anyway. I didn't get what people were. I got irritated for a different reason about that. I feel like there were people that were mad that they bury their gays with Castiel because people felt like Castiel, his death scene was an expression of love for Dean. Like he like got it. Like his happiness, like Angel and Buffy, his happiness would trigger this thing that like a bomb that he wanted to go off to help them, like a weapon. And so it'd be like if turning into Angelus was the only thing that could help in the situation, and Angel had to figure out like what would make me truly happy right this moment. And that's what Castiel does. He figures out like, oh shit, this works out because sacrificing myself for my friends is kind of a moment of pure happiness. Like I get to save y'all. And he tells Dean he loves him, and it irked me that everybody was like, Castiel's gay for Dean, and then they bury like. Normalize platonic friendships. Has a year alone not taught you fucking assholes anything? You need better friends. Like, you need friends that you're not fucking or not trying to fuck. Like, you can say I love you to your friends. So anyway, that's how I took it. So that didn't bother me. How Castiel went out. I still love Supernatural. This show's wonderful. I just watched a shitload of early Supernaturals right after watching this finale. That said, I would skip the actual series finale. It is like watching the real Star Wars Holiday Special, the non-Lego. As a Supernatural fan, I felt obligated to have seen it and to hunt it. You don't really have to hunt it down; it's just right there. But I felt like I should see it. Maybe you feel that way too, but you can also just skip it if you're just watching the show to try and enjoy television.
All right. Just a reminder that you can support us by going over to patreon.com/tvdudes. Throw us $1 an episode. In exchange, we get to keep up with our streaming services, pay for our hosting costs, and you get bonus content each week. This week, we're continuing our John Carpenter marathon with Escape from New York. It occurred to me, guys, that the last month of 2020, probably, and as I looked at my list, we could have done a holiday movie marathon that would have themed up perfectly with all this. But instead, we're watching Halloween. We're watching horror movies.
Hey, we put it to a vote.
We did.
And granted, we didn't have holidays on there at all. But
yeah, at no point did any of us go like, well, what about holiday movies? None of us thought of that.
Well, I think Escape from New York, it made a great double feature we watched Christmas Chronicle Part 1. We're going to watch Part 2 this weekend, but I was like, yeah, this is a good double feature.
Call me Claude.
Yeah. We also have our $20 showrunner level, which lets you add shows into our rotation. Charles Armstrong has the last one this year. He has got the anime Megalobox, which is going to make it in the next couple of weeks.
I heard Chuck Mangione played the opening of that. No, wait, that's Megalomart.
Yeah, that's
what are we watching?
That's it.
We're watching
King of the
anime.
Hill, right?
Yeah.
My favorite anime, King of the Hill.
Anime dudes. Don't you remember?
All right, it is time for some new business, and it is time for us to talk about Queens. Let's start with
King of Queens, that Ray Romano.
King of Queens.
Yes. Little Patton Oswalt
Is that Ray
action.
Romano?
Spinoff. That was some, yeah.
Let's start with the Queen's Gambit.
Ooh.
This was a show that was on my radar a little bit. Like everyone was talking about it, but it's about a chess prodigy. And even though it's Anya Taylor-Joy, who I really like, I was like, man, I don't know if I don't want to watch a show about chess. And then literally everyone on my friend's feed is talking about how great it was. And finally, we all were like, yeah, let's watch it. And I don't know about you guys. I'm very happy that we decided to watch this.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I think Lisa had the exact same reaction you did, Randy, of like, why do I need to watch this? I've read the description several times. It is still not appealing to me. I know nothing about chess.
Well, the promotional stuff looks so good, like the way it's shot. You go, it's probably really pretty, you know. Like, there's probably people who watch Downton Abbey because they like the way it looks, you know. But no, you watch this and it's more than a facade.
It looks so good that I assumed it had to be in England or something. Like it's just in shitty rural. I mean, it's in Lexington. It's not
Americans don't have history,
but like it's just in rural Kentucky.
Well, the period piece-ness of it helps a lot. Like they definitely nailed that 60s period piece in the way of something like Mad Men does. Like the fashions and the music and the set pieces. Like they did a great job of showing the time period.
All the characters are great, but I wish we got more time with Bill Camp, who was just always wonderful. He's who actually teaches her chess in that first episode. He's the janitor. I can't remember his Mr. Spellnitz. I can't remember his name.
Spiegel, something like that. That's not right either, but something like that.
But when she in the second episode,
Scheibel.
You got to make it to at least the second episode. The first one was great. I feel like people, if you sit down and watch it, are hooked. But I was thrilled when I got to the end of the second episode because at that point you have established her adopted home. And even though I did spend like almost through episode 3 waiting for the mom to be a villain.
Me too. Oh my God, yes. I was so set up for she's terrible.
I don't feel bad spoiling this. I want to tell everybody watching this show to just go ahead and put it out of your mind. She's wonderful.
She's great.
And their relationship is wonderful. They are dysfunctional and broken, fucked up people, but
in a way that works for them.
They're wonderful together. Yeah.
And when that moment goes, when she finds her mom, that was like Buffy level. Like, holy shit, I did not see that coming.
It's really great. Yeah.
You know, one of the things the show does that I love, and I don't think it's necessarily spoiling anything, I call it the Dragon Ball Z test. All right. If you're familiar with Dragon Ball Z, the first story, I mean, there was Dragon Ball before, but anyways, it's Goku versus Vegeta. All right. Yep, you know, and he's like hyped up. Well, there's stuff before that, but that Vegeta's like the first big bad. But as you go on, he ends up becoming like an ally. And, you know, he's like I don't watch Dragon Ball, but they do a really great job. Anytime she has a huge chess adversary or opponent, defeating them also like makes them part of her fold. So like by like progressing through this, she like builds up her own little army of like smart ass chess dudes that are all her allies.
I've been really happy
just
about that.
Beautiful thing to watch.
Yeah, when the penultimate episodes of the finale comes up, and she like has them all gathered around her, helping her out. That was so good. Like you get I love the guy. Is it the sort of young guy who's the chess champ until she beats him?
Well, there's the two twins that are running the very, very first tournament that are kind of the first people she runs into again of like, what are you doing here? And then there's
Matt
Towns.
And Mike.
Yeah, and then there's Towns that looks like a Superboy clone.
The one I'm thinking of is Benny.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Benny
the kid
Watt.
from Love Actually.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Gift from Love Actually. Oh
Benny,
my God.
who, gosh, cannot make him look old to save
Nope.
your life. Like, he always looks like a kid.
Guys, that is also Georgian Reed from Game of Thrones
Oh, yeah.
and Ferb.
Phineas and Ferb.
Yep.
Oh.
Anyway, he's great.
He looks like he came from outside time. It looks like David Spade's clone from Outside Time come to fight him. Like
I
in a clothing
Mhm.
style I can only call Chestern wear.
You know how professional poker players always would look like they have the weirdest outfits.
hmm
I feel like Benny was like that for chess.
The
Yeah.
knife on his belt and everything. It was like, are you about
Yeah.
to direct like Color Out of Space? Like, what the fuck, Richard Stanley?
Well, it makes you think, which granted, it took me a while before I realized this was fictional, but it makes you think that, there could have been a time where like people had the patience to actually follow along and understand chess.
Yeah.
Like now, people barely follow along with football. Like you have to be really into football to know what's going on. But a lot of people's, friends are just like, oh, whatever, that's my team. that color.
You know what? We're gonna play without
my-
a quarterback this week to see if y'all even notice.
Oh, that was awesome. No, my favorite one of those like kind of chess adversaries was Harry Beltic, played by
Yes.
Harry Melling, who is what is that character from Harry Potter he plays? He's like the Dursley's oldest son. Who is always getting the toys when Harry's like under the staircase. And he is so despicable when you first see him, and he's got that shit-eating grin, and you're like,
And
that's
he's
the kid from
yawning
Harry
the
Potter.
whole thing. He's such a prick.
Yep.
Yeah. And then I'll be damned if, as the story progresses, my heart didn't break for him at points.
Yeah.
And really go, like, he has a moment where he goes, I don't like chess as much as you. Like, it's okay. Like, I understand what it takes to be as good as you are. And like, I don't have it in me. Like, and it just, your heart breaks for him because he's like, yeah, I can't do it.
The thing that got me was the return of her roommate from the school, showing up with a full on fro, and like that was a shocker to me. Like she's at her low point, and this woman comes back into her life, like that I did not see coming at all, and I thought was great.
Well, my favorite thing about how that came full circle is in the first episode where you see her enter the orphanage. You hear Jolene in the background.
Yes,
and she says something like, you cocksucker. Like, Emma. She's like cursing. And the teacher who's bringing her in is automatic. Oh, I'm going to scold you, blah, blah. And she has to make a decision right there. Oh, if I want to be good, like the teacher's pet, be good with her, I need to stay away from this girl, And in that moment, she becomes her best friend. Yeah. And it totally sets the course of her life from that point.
Anya Taylor-Joy is fantastic in this. She plays this sort of very smart but very sort of damaged girl, and there's like you get the sort of real vulnerability from her, and then you get the moments like when she stands up to her father when he's trying to basically take the house back, and she just shuts him down. Or I loved when basically like the people from the religious group were like, you have to say this. And she's like, no, I'll give the money back. Like she is very much I will burn down the house before I let you have it type person.
Well, the show's about her being a great chess player, but that's also how she navigates social situations. Is like the thing with getting the house. She was 5 steps ahead of them. She knew what she needed to do to get the house. And the conversation was just going to unfold the way she wanted it to until she got, her checkmate on her adopted father.
I love this. I love chess as a plot mechanism. They not overt of, 1-to-1 like moves in the game, but I've seen this done before. Like there's a movie called Fresh. I think it's Lawrence Fishburne's in it. He's not the lead. It's a kid that is just spectacular, but it's a little kid navigating drug world, and they're all pushing him around, and of course every adult feels like they've got the upper hand all the time, but through the whole movie this kid is a chess obsessive, and by the end of it you see like, shit, you were 5 moves ahead. Like you were just letting them take your pieces.
The thing about her performance and how she portrays this character is if there was moments where I was like, is she on the spectrum in some way? Because
her moments
there's
of
times where she seems
dating and all. Yeah.
Yeah, there's times she seems very out of it and very just like into her thing, but then she'll like snap in just being perfectly coherent. If anything, like she understands nuance enough to like be eloquent when she needs to get something and, you know, talks down to people when she doesn't have to like show them respect. The performance reminded me a lot of like ballet because she was able to like switch to those different modes so quickly. And I think that's why I maybe thought that the character was on the spectrum, because she would go from such extremes of emotion just like on the turn of a dime. And it's really cool to watch. It's almost like a dance, but with a acting performance.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was that or if it's just a character who's very controlled out of a sense of safety. Like looking around at these other teens, like, how can you be this silly and vulnerable? Don't you know that life is going to fuck you up?
Right.
And so she's just preternaturally controlled, which I think is also how she describes like what she likes about chess to some douchebag reporter that's asking dipshit questions. She's just like, you know, it's a field of a set number. It's a whole world of a set number of squares, and I can dominate in it and have full control over it. And I'm safe there.
The setup for this series, and the thing that really makes it work, is you really feel for her in the first couple episodes. There's a lot of desperation. She's an orphan. Bill Camp comes in and reminds you, oh yeah, I feel bad for her. I'm going to be this mentor. And, you know, if I'm the mentor, you know, some fucked up shit's happened to her. But then we get our Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory moment where like kind of literally a golden ticket comes to her and she's like, enter me into this chess competition. I'll get us $100.
Yeah.
And the mom's like, oh shit, you're an ATM. Like we can just enter these competitions and just, it's a license to print money.
And it's also the first time they bond.
Yeah. And from that moment, you're like, oh, this could be like anything. This is like Mad Men now. Like I want to see where the, you know, how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Because that's the moment where I was really, that was the break moment where I thought the mom was about to be a villain, because I just really noticed how many beer cans were sitting around the house and how drunk this lady was, and her tranquility that needed refurbishing, and she's sitting at the piano playing sad, and she reveals that her husband's just abandoned them.
Yeah.
And that like, and it's starting to sink in of like, oh shit, they'll take me back if you don't have a husband. And like, well, not if we lie about it. And so they agree upon this lie, and that's a bond right there. And I had a little moment of like, all right, y'all are going to be all right. And then the money started rolling in with the tournaments, and I thought, oh shit, this is going to turn into like a bad Jackson 5 thing. And and then later that episode, there's the next moment of it where the mom very timidly asks for like a 10%, like
she has like 10% commission.
And Beth responds back with how about 15? And I was like, there, y'all are on the same team. That's great. That's great.
Well, and one of the brilliant things about the show, you are definitely scared that the shoe's going to drop at certain times. Like they set it up like she could be taken advantage of so easily. She's in foreign countries. Like there's a lot going on.
This dude's to even Towns' hotel room, where we like Towns, but still,
exactly.
What the fuck?
Didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
But it never goes there. It goes somewhere different. So it's like the story's always moving forward, but you're always kind of thinking it's going to go somewhere else. Another chess metaphor.
Yeah, I really, it's a wonderful series. I think everybody should dig it. It's
it was really good.
Making me more and more determined to see New Mutants. Because she's in it and she's so well cast.
Yep. And she's Russian, so I assume her character's in that plays chess as well.
You guys have seen Split, right? I think that's a great one to start with if you're looking for more stuff. She's great in Split
and in Glass, actually.
I've not seen Glass yet.
Oh, that's I got to see that one.
I saw it recently. Queen's Gambit, really good. Let's talk about another queen on Netflix. Let's talk about the Queen in The Crown. Kyle, you have to lead on this because I, of course, don't love the British shows as much. No one loves the British shows as much as you do. Let's be honest.
But the British want to, but they're not allowed to display it.
They're not. Yeah, they can't. They have to keep a stiff upper lip.
Yeah.
But
me.
I watched. I think I can't remember if I finished that season 1 of The Crown. It just kind of didn't grab me, even though it's super well done. Just not my thing. And so I watched you sent me a YouTube Gillian Anderson supercut of like 10 minutes of Gillian Anderson playing Margaret Thatcher. I love Gillian Anderson as much as I hate Margaret Thatcher. And so I did watch that. And that's my grounding for this season. I know Les has watched some of
I started watching season 4 because we'd heard so much about it and Anderson and Thatcher and all of that. And you don't have to have watched all of them. They're disconnected enough. But we realized within 15 minutes that like, oh shit, I just want to go back and catch up on all The Crown because I did not watch season 2 or 3. And so we jumped back to season 1 and are catching back up on The Crown now.
So Kyle, take us to The Crown.
Oh man, guys, there's so much I could talk about. And yeah, give me a whole hour. This is definitely one of my favorites. It's been on my top 10 list the past couple years. And the way that they do this show where they turn these real life people into fictional characters and then they're able to crank that drama up to 10 makes for an amazing TV show. It's apparently pissing off some of the royals in real life because they're not painted, in the best light. But to just give a little context, The Crown is on its 4th season and it's created by Peter Morgan. And what he has done is in the first 2 seasons, he has the Queen and Prince Philip, her husband, portrayed by Claire Foy and Matt Smith.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then it switched and it became Olivia Colman and Tobias Menzies. I'm not great with his name.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And then next season, we're going to be getting Jonathan Pryce, who was the High Sparrow guy in Game of Thrones. He's going to be the new Prince Philip. And then I'm definitely going to mess her name up. I am so sorry. But Imelda Staunton?
Yeah, I know the name.
She's Dolores Umbridge in Harry Potter.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to get her as the queen in the later life. So this is the end of the 2-season run with Olivia Colman. And this is the first season where we get the start of the Princess Diana story. And then, as Randy just mentioned, we also get Thatcher's time in office, which was really interesting in terms of how it relates to the Queen, because in each of these seasons, we see the unique relationship with her and her prime minister. And not only is this the first female prime minister, but they're the same age. They're like months apart in age.
And Thatcher's slightly older.
The senior. There's a great standoff moment where they go back and forth. But because there's a million great episodes. The Balmoral Test is a phenomenal episode if you only watch one. This season also brought into some really kind of sketchy history with the royals, which is episode 8, it looks like. Episode 7, The Hereditary Principle, where we find out about what happens to these people who are technically royals, but have learning disabilities and need assisted living. And essentially they were shipped off. And in the books, it looked like they passed away, but really they were at this, assisted care facility, kind of, kept away from everybody else. Not, the finest moment.
Right.
But the one story that is just, I feel like the reason to watch this is kind of how they portray the love triangle between Prince Charles, the future king, Princess Diana, and Camilla, who now she's the Duchess of Cornwall.
Right. And that story across seasons is fucking wild.
Yeah, because there is something so crazy. It is really the hero becoming the villain story, because Charles falls in love with this Camilla and his family tells him, no, you can't. And granted, I'm talking about the characters. I'm not talking about the real people, because, who knows what was going on. But the characters in the show, Charles falls in love with Camilla, And everybody's like, no, you can't do it. And he's like, I'm going to be king one day. Screw you guys. I want to do it. You know,
get
that's all
over
I
it.
want. Yeah. And they're like, no. They even orchestrate her marriage behind his back. All right. Or like, we'll get her married off to this other guy she likes, you know, and then she won't think of Charles anymore. Okay. And this kid is just destroyed, you know. He's like, the one woman I want, you know, I can't have. All right. So what does he do? He finds the perfect woman. All right. The perfect woman that the family's going to love, the world's going to love, going to give him beautiful children because she's beautiful herself, like everything. Okay. But, and this is kind of hopeful if you think about it, who did he love? He loves Camilla. Like the heart wants what the heart wants. So even though he like puts on the show and he tries, he becomes like a total asshole because he is, you know, forced himself into this relationship he doesn't want to be in. And he's taking it out on this, like the other person in that relationship who was kind of this innocent victim. So he goes from being the victim to being kind of the victimizer in this show.
Watching the family split him and Camilla up, knowing that, like, knowing where the history goes, like, because I'm in earlier seasons at this point, and like knowing that like, oh no, he marries somebody else, that person dies, and he is with Camilla now.
Yeah.
Like he just waits this shit out. Like, oh yeah, no, I'm gonna get over it. Fuck you.
Well, and you know what else is crazy? When the queen dies and Charles becomes king, so like they are married, and when you get married, it is customary that the queen makes you like Duke and Duchess, but he's already the Prince of Wales. Like he's not going to be a Duke. And Diana was the Princess of Wales. Well, technically, I think she still is, like on the family chart. Like she's the Princess of Wales. So they're not going to make another Princess of Wales. And if I'm getting this wrong, blow me up in the comments. But so they made her the Duchess of Cornwall. But when he becomes king, he can call her whatever he wants. They think she's going to be called the what is it? The Queen.
Queen Mother.
No, it'll be like the Queen assumed or something like that. But he could just call her the Queen. He could do whatever he wants when he's king because that's how it works. But it is insane to think, you know, back in the 70s when, you know, he was looking, you know, to be with this woman, you know, oh, the world will never be progressive enough for you to, you know, be with a woman who's had sex before.
realizing that like these people on this show, this is, yes, it's a period piece, but it's not, I mean, these are still the people in England right now. And like a lot, like the Queen is still the Queen in England right now. Like watching this with Fanny, that's the woman that's on all of her money growing up in Canada.
Can I get real for a second? I'd mentioned the episode where you find out that members of the royal family, you know, they have those genetic defects. So, you know, we're looking at me and my wife, you know, having children. And one of the things you do when, you know, you're in our situation is you get genetic testing to just make sure if you are predisposed for genetic illness, you don't have the same ones. Like if she has one and I don't have it, you know, there's not a high chance we're going to pass it on to her kid.
It would suck to find out that you are the 2 in a million that shouldn't ever match up. Yeah.
Right.
But imagine generation after generation of marrying your blonde cousin. All right.
There's
and you don't
so
have
many
any
people
knowledge
in the
of
that are related on both sides of that family. I mean, there's so many. I can't remember. Is it David or Dan? There's somebody that's an advisor to the Queen that gets blown up by the IRA. And he's related on both sides. They all are.
It's a small gene pool. Luckily, today,
down face.
Let's say they wanted to marry cousins or whatever. Medical technology, they could technically do that. I don't think that goes on. But I'm not trying to advocate for cousin marrying. But, you know, their kids are not going to have, you know.
Way to go, Kyle. We just lost Rudy Giuliani listeners.
Right.
Yeah, we got Rudy back. We turned him off from the podcast for a bit, but now he's listening again.
But yeah, I have to wonder if the experience with Charles and Camilla, given that this is the same Queen that is still Queen, if there's aren't the way that Harry and Meghan got to handle their marriage and leaving the royals or whatever, abdicating their positions and shit, if all of that wasn't handled differently because of how consistently wrong it has gone every single time they have told anyone, like the only reason that Elizabeth, that the current queen's dad was king, is because his brother abdicated to go
marry a
divorced woman, right? Like, the whole reason we have an Anglican fucking church is because y'all can't marry who. Like, just let royals do whatever they want marriage wise. Just every time you try to, it's either a world war or a whole new church schism or something. Just let them marry commoners and shit. Jesus.
You know what my hope is? My hope is that today, with the internet, with technology, social media, like everything anybody does is under a microscope. And it wasn't that way when Elizabeth became queen. Prince William, his whole life until he becomes King William, like he's going to be worried about looking good in the public, almost like a politician over here in America. By the time that he's king, he's going to have way more of like an understanding of his public image and, people who are actually working on that than probably anybody who's ever come before him.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially when you watch like the early episodes of The Crown or older period stuff, you think like, wow, I bet this was a whole fucking lot easier in several regards when
to do your affairs.
Yeah. When you could really you had to be at court to know what the shit was happening.
One more quick shout out. Episode 4, we get to meet all of the kids. So we already are familiar with Charles and the sister, the oldest two, but then we get the princes below them. Gosh, whose names are escaping me, but her youngest 2 sons. One, the guy who's in the news with being buddies with Epstein. We get kind of his introduction. And the episode is framed so great because she's having a blunt conversation with Thatcher at the very beginning, and Thatcher refers to her son as her favorite. How most parents are kind of like embarrassed to admit that. Like they wouldn't like call somebody their favorite. She's just like, no, he's my favorite. Yeah, I don't want anything to happen to that one. He's the good one. And then so everybody's like, well, who's your favorite? And then, you kind of go through the whole episode. And it's funny because at the end, you're like, I could see where none of her kids would be her favorite.
Do I have to pick from mine?
She picks the sleazy one. And I can't find his name, but that episode 4 is really good. The Favorite. Yeah, so, definitely you should check it out.
Where does this get us through, Kyle? Year wise, this get us into
I think we're end of the 80s. This next season takes a big jump, and we're going to be I think we're going to be 90s next season.
So just as they're going, I don't want to speculate too far because I'm not watching The Crown. I shouldn't speculate, but it seems to me like The Crown season 6 will have to be The Crown in space.
I do think
Randy,
they got 2 more and they're done.
You want to dial it back? It's they have ladder technology. This will be The Crown on the roof.
Oh my gosh. You joke, but they actually did a space episode where the Duke of Edinburgh gets to meet the astronauts, and the whole episode he's fetishizing these guys. He just thinks it's so great. He's even flying an airplane at this point in his life. He has his pilot's license, and he does something dumb with the airplane. Like it's ridiculous. Then he meets these guys, and they are the most boring people he could imagine. He's so disappointed.
Because they're not hot shots. They're
They're like, well, they keep us really busy, and barely any time to sleep. We got a lot of operation manuals. And he's like, that's not fun. What is this? I thought you were space cowboys.
Moon's haunted.
Moon's haunted. Where are the aliens?
So let's divert over from England back to America, back to California. I can't remember where this is, to talk about the unicorn on CBS All Access.
Oh yeah, it's like any town, like upper middle class suburbia.
Yeah, I say that and I'm like, in my head it's in the South, but just because Walton Goggins is the lead. But I'm like, is it in Atlanta or anything like that, or is it?
Realizing I have no idea. I'm usually very bad at that anyway.
Me neither.
But I think it's intentionally ambiguous.
Is it? Yeah, because I mean, like honestly, you could be showing me the fucking skyline in every commercial break, and I am still not going to put together where Friends is.
I've discovered where it is, guys. Do you want to guess? Do you want to guess the state?
I think I have a logical guess.
Okay, go ahead.
My logical guess is California, San Diego area, because there's a ton of outdoor furniture, which suggests that you would have a year-round temperate climate.
This is incorrect. Kyle, Les, you want to make a guess?
Illinois.
Raleigh, North Carolina.
Okay.
Oh,
They say
because he's got a little
Riley.
bit of an accent.
Yeah,
that
They
does
talk
place him
about
pretty
like
well.
dating prospects in Riley at one when he's trying
Raleigh.
to find Raleigh when he's trying to find Natalie Z's character. He doesn't know her name yet, and he's like, "Well, how many Volvos could there be?"
Did you guys give her a Blake Lively triple take?
no, because I love Natalie Z.
Only because I love Natalie Z, and I know that actress. She's fantastic.
So Kyle, you and I kind of as on the spectrum here. I think Les didn't plug into a Unicorn at first.
No,
you fell in love with it and watched it, and then I finally came around. We got CBS All Access and binged through it and kind of fell for it. But season 2, I feel like it's taken a leap forward. Like I feel like these 2 episodes were so good.
Yeah,
jump back and rewatch some season 1. I don't think the leap is as big as you think it is. It
just grabbed me. Yeah.
I was not sold on the Unicorn in season 1, and I watched season 2 on your recommendation, the first 2 episodes, and holy shit, that's a solid ensemble show. Everybody's so good. The writing is so good. The kids, everything's funny. Yeah. I jumped back and rewatched the pilot, and even though I'm still pissed that nobody could bother to check Urban Dictionary before they greenlight a show. It's other than that one treacle moment where like they explain you're a titular word, like
titular word would have been a better title than the Unicorn.
Let me check out the titular words on.
If the quality stays where it's at now, that's the thing season 2 will always have over season 1. Is season 1 first, they had to make you sad for him, which they did a good job. Like you feel for him by the end of
that device
by that last freezer meal.
That was fantastic.
They hook you with that. Then they had to prove that this wasn't just a sleazy show about a guy who could sleep with whoever he wants.
Yep.
Because they make a ton of jokes in those first couple episodes. And it's like, once you get the ensemble and you see like, oh, here are the friends who made all those frozen dinners. And this is what they have this like super fictional friendship because nobody hangs out this much. But it's like what you would strive for.
And they stay just above it. Like the friends want him to live vicariously for them a little bit, but it's not just his gross man cave friends that want him to go on dates. Like yes, the Rob Corddry's Michaela Watkins character.
She's
fantastic, and like yes, the joke is that she is an alarm bell's going off, kind of get meddle in your business, like busybody. But at the same time, she's lovable. Like she's not. This works better than Trophy Wife, where she was the ex-wife.
Yeah, although here's the thing. I've loved Michaela Watkins and everything I've seen her for. In Trophy Wife, she gets the thankless role of playing like the hippy-dippy ex-wife who's way too into their business. And I still loved her because of Michaela Watkins. And in Casual, she's like the divorcee whose life is falling apart and who doesn't quite know how to be a mom to her kid. And I still loved her there. But this may be my favorite role because she's this like neurotic. Is she a doctor?
She's a pediatrician.
Yeah.
God, when she sits down at the barbecue, I think it's in season 1 to explain, it may be in season 2, to explain the birds and bees to the oldest daughter that gets caught with the neighbor kid. Maybe in season 2. That is a spectacularly awkward fucking scene. It's so good.
I love her relationship with Rob Corddry's character. I love him. I love his weird neuroses. I think we talked a little bit off mic that Rob Corddry has played the douchebag role in a lot of things. And here he's less the douchebag than sort of the nebbishy guy who just wants to be liked.
Just a sad sack. Like he just wants it so bad. He wants to.
And the other couple, played by Omar Benson Miller and Maya Lynn Robinson, I love them too. Michelle going to college and the way that Ben is supporting her, I love that storyline so far.
He frequently steals scenes. Like
he does.
The guy playing Ben is just amazing.
He does that, and the other thing that he and Corddry are in together too.
I know, don't crucify me for this, but they're good in Ballers, man. Ballers has some stuff going for it.
They're the best parts of Ballers. I mean, honestly, Omar Benson Miller is the best part of Ballers.
Yeah. No,
I thought you were storyline in season 1. What Ballers were doing on their week.
no, because both of those guys are in it.
Yeah.
But no, he's got a great family-oriented storyline in there too, where he's a retired football player who, gets a job at a car lot before kind of going in the coaching route. And the whole time, his wife is being so supportive. Like at one point she buys him a minivan, but gets it like decked out in like camo van wraps and rims and like makes it like this really dope minivan for him.
So this show had gelled. Like the ensemble's really good. We didn't even talk about all the kids, and the kids are great.
Kids
like,
are solid.
All the kids are so good. And then at the tail end of season 1, in mid-season 1, I can't remember how much you've seen, Les, but when they brought in Betsy Brandt as like his...
They are about to bring her in. That's the episode I was just about to start.
Yeah, and her arc with him, I really like that. That is when it clicked for me, and I really like the show a lot more. And I liked that. But when they bring in Natalie Z at the tail end of season 1, and they explain sort of how he met his wife, and they sort of mirror it with her, I fell in love with that character immediately, probably because I love Natalie Z. I loved her in Justified. I loved her in The
she's just wonderful.
And she's like Walton Goggins. She's someone who is great in drama. Like the two of them were both great in Justified together, but they also do comedy really well. And the two of them have a chemistry that I love here. I think that there's these first 2 episodes where he's doing the sort of slightly obsessive meet cute, where he's just trying to find this girl, and she is interested in him, but can't quite put that all together. She's got her own messy life going on. And the bit where Michaela Watkins like has a run-in with her because she's being the picky person to a chef. Like I love that little bit of like, he just missed her.
Yes.
And it's so good and it's so funny. And when he goes to the school to look for her,
God,
and then basically like has to like bail out
because security's coming for him.
Yeah, so good. I loved it, and I love that they didn't wait too long to put them together. They gave us enough obstacles, and then they put them together and had them go on a date. And it's still not perfect.
They still go another episode before anybody learns last names.
Yeah. But she's clicked right into the group at this point. Like she fits there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, she should be in the gang.
Yeah. You know what this reminds me of? This is a weird comparison. Did you guys watch Cougar Town?
I did not watch very much Cougar Town. I have heard it's spectacular and that the name is just...
I heard it's spectacular from Abed.
It's really good.
Yes, that's probably who recommended it. I love
Cougar Town is really good. It's a Bill Lawrence show. You know, Ted Lasso guy. And so it has the worst... It's a really bad pilot and premise and title. A lot in common with Unicorn there. But it is basically about this sort of found family of like a woman, her ex-husband, her best friend, her coworker who's like a little too young for the group, who like starts to fit in, and her son, and a lot of wine. And it's basically like all these couples, and she's dating, and then she starts seriously seeing somebody, and then her ex husband is sort of part of the group. And there's all this stuff of like them just being like a supportive suburban crew, and the Unicorn is so much like that it makes me, it fills that Cougar Town shaped hole in my heart.
Nice.
Yeah, I would recommend anybody who's looking for, if you've rewatched Parks and Rec so many times that you can see through the fabric, and like you know, you've already burned through Schitt's Creek the same number of times, and whatever other sitcoms do that for you. This is a great one to jump into. I guess you'd probably need CBS All Access, but you know,
actually, this is if you have antenna television, tune into CBS.
Yeah, whatever night this happens on.
Yeah, get your local TV guide out. Do you think that in season 2 we're going to get a return of the support group? I know that was Betsy Brandt's introduction. So I mean,
I feel like
drunk ass support group.
I love the support group, but I feel like they moved on from it. I feel like he's in a new phase.
I don't know. I really liked Helen Hong. She was in that group.
Oh, they were all good. Yeah.
It was, man, if we could get them back somehow. Actually, it'd be really funny if, like, he's out of the group now and he sees them, like, getting together without him. That can make for a good episode.
Yeah, I think they should come back once at least, just to see just seeing them.
Okay, so let's talk about our final show for the week, and that is HBO Max's The Flight Attendant. This is Kaylee Cuoco, is that her name? I can't remember how you pronounce it. Who is, of course, Harley Quinn. And
she was part of Randy's
Oh wait, she's the voice for Harley Quinn.
Yes,
She's the voice for Harley Quinn.
Oh,
Yes.
I thought you were making a joke about the actress.
No,
No,
she's the voice for the cartoon
She's
Harley.
the voice for Harley Quinn, and that's where I know her from. I know she was also on some show that people love that I hate.
Randy, it's about a comic book shop owner.
Yeah, so she was big on the Big Bang Theory, which I've never seen a single episode of, to be honest.
There's a gazillion of them.
So one of the first, like I know, Randy, I know you weren't as sold on Flight Attendant as some, but one of the first things that I saw about this, and the reasons I was excited to see it, was reviewers saying like, "Oh, thank God, somebody can finally we can see Kaylee Kuko do something else." Because I mean, like her doing Harley Quinn is great, but it's voice on animation. Like the reason that show works is not just her. But the beauty and curse of being on a successful show like Big Bang Theory means Big Bang Theory is all you did for 20 fucking years, it feels like. And now you're James Bond forever. Like, you're that's just what you do.
So
hey guys,
before we talk about this entirely, I would like to buzzkill it a little bit.
All right.
I was psyched for this. They did the thing where they show 3 episodes, which I think is I think either give me the whole binge or give me 3 episodes. Don't give me 1 episode. That's dumb. So we get a pretty good sense of it, especially on a show like this that is like the premise is weird. So it's the cast is great. Kaylee Kuko, Michael Huseman, who I always like, Michelle Gomez, who plays Sinister better than anybody else, and then Rosie Perez, who is great here. I don't like everybody else in it, but those are the big names you'd know. And so she's a flight attendant, and she starts flirting with this cute guy, and they sort of hook up in Bangkok. And I was like, okay, so this is going to be like a meet cute romance, and maybe he's got some. I knew there was some intrigue to it. I'm like, okay, so maybe he's like a spy, or there's something going on there. And then he gets murdered.
So you did not know that was the premise of this show?
No, I did not.
I think that's in the trailer. I thought it was in the trailer.
The
premise of this show is that the whole premise of this show is that she's on the run from a murder she may or may not have committed because she blacked out.
Right. And I was like, oh my God, that's dark. And then he's talking to her in her mind palace.
It's not just that it's dark. They do a couple. I was sitting there watching it thinking, I know Randy had problems with the tone of this show.
Yeah.
But it's really feeling pretty great. And then they did a second cut just on his neck gash. And I was like, yeah, that's weird.
It's like, don't get me wrong. I love dark shows. I love a dark comedy. But for whatever reason, I didn't find the comedy funny. Like it didn't make me laugh. I just felt anxious for her the whole time. And I'm not invested in the mystery. And we're 3 episodes in, and I'm just not like, he's got a powerful family, and Michelle Gomez is up to him for something. And it's like, it's taken so long to get to its point that I just don't care.
Yeah. Go ahead, Kyle.
I was going to say, there is a great book by one IT Crowd star, Richard Ayoade, called An Ayoade on Top. And what this is it's an entire book that is a critical response to one movie. I've never seen this movie, but apparently it's a Gwyneth Paltrow starring flight attendant movie.
Women on
I don't even know. Like, I think he mentions the name of it, but the thing is, it's so forgettable. And he makes an entire book kind of making fun of like this premise of like flight attendants
Mike
and
Myers is the gay flight attendant
of luxury. Yeah. It would be so easy to turn this show on and be like, I don't want to watch a show about a flight attendant just fucking her way across the globe. But when it does give you that intrigue plot with the comedy element to it, because it is very much like a crime of errors, like anything wrong that she's done is like just her dunciness and almost like a little Three Stooges-ness to it, leaving DNA all over the scene, all these flashbacks she has to the Mind Palace, like he's still cut up and bloody. And it does give you a little bit more than just kind of like a vapid flight attendant story. And I do think there are some really funny parts. The character Annie, played by, I can't say this actress's name, Zoshi or Zoya?
Yeah, from Girls.
She's from Girls. She plays her best friend who's also a lawyer. And this character
Why are you asking me about Amanda Knox? What are you talking about?
Why are we talking about Amanda Knox right now? You called me from the murder scene.
No, don't get arrested in Thailand. No.
But she does such a great job from like nailing these lines that are getting huge laughs from the audience, but playing it totally straight and having really serious moments too. It's like what you saw her do in Girls. Like it's a really, for whether you like that show or not, like it's a really good skill set jumping between the comedy and the drama like that.
Yeah,
I think for me this is the thing that's like the tone of it is so weird to me, and I don't like the touchstones for this are things like Girls. I think Search Party on TBS is very similar in tone to this, where it's like it's got these unlikable characters and it's like these hapless people in the middle of a serious situation. And for whatever reason, that particular tone, unless you're Vince Gilligan, it doesn't work for me.
I'm enjoying this.
Okay.
I think I've only watched the first one. I started the second one last night, and I'm enjoying it. I don't give a fuck about that guy's past. But I do give a fuck about her getting out of this. I like her flight attendant character, and I want to see her like, yeah, she's a vapid party girl, but like that's not a sin. Like she doesn't, if she didn't do the, So I am invested in seeing her get out of it. I don't care about whatever larger conspiracy she seems to be about to fall into.
Yeah.
But we'll see if they tell me on that. The part of the show that's throwing me, because overall I'm enjoying this, say, more than Jet, in terms of what it's trying to do, this like North by Northwest, I may have fallen into a murder plot and now I'm the patsy kind of thing. I am liking that. The thing that's throwing me off is the memory palace, because she doesn't act like it's a memory palace. She acts like she's been alien abducted to a hallucination. And either she's like, either something truly sci-fi is happening, or her character has literally never had an internal thought in their lives. Like, I don't know if she's just never remembered anything ever, or if something truly sci-fi, like, is something really happening to her? Or is she like, what the fuck?
I believe there's a much more simple explanation, and this gets back to what Randy said about the tone, which is I think they're trying to do something really serious with that. And this is a guess. And again, if I'm right, I'm sorry for spoiling this, but they've done a lot of foreshadowing, so I feel confident about this. There was some type of a hunting accident when she was hunting rabbits with her dad. And she gets all these flashes of blood. And she says to this character who she's like trapped in the mind palace with, how are you seeing these memories? And I think that what we're witnessing is a stress-related breakdown where she's trying to block out this one memory, having like a few, but now seeing this bloody body has triggered it.
Yeah,
so I think it's probably
it's stylishly overplayed for me. And even though I feel like she's great in the scene is inappropriate. Like her humor in the moment is hysterical, is some of the funniest shit for me when she's in there and is like, what the fuck, you can get out of bed now, where the fuck did the blood go, what the shit, like all of her reactions to that are great, but they pop me out of it weirdly.
Also, Michael Huseman is great in those roles. He's doing great at this, playing these sort of like, I'm dead. I don't
know. I know what you know. I mean, I don't know.
But I'm wondering if the rabbit thing is a clue. And this would be a really dark way to take it, but I don't know if they'll do it. But like, I wonder if the hunting accident is she killed her dad and didn't remember it, and she killed this dude and doesn't remember it, and we're gonna find out she's fucking.
I am wondering at this point if she did this though. Like they've not shown me anything I don't want her to have.
But, no.
And it ends Kaylee Kudrow's a lumberjack. She's got a big beard. She's off.
Right? Yes, but I finally watched The Night Of not too long ago, and so like I keep sitting here going, fuck, he made it.
Yeah, that is the best.
Yeah.
No, this is the thing is my wife is digging this show, so I'm probably gonna end up watching.
Oh, Lisa loved it. She's already watched the first three.
Yeah.
You guys should check back in on this and let me know if I should go back, because I remember HBO Max did that Love Life with Anna Kendrick.
Yeah, and I didn't get into it.
And I watched the first three, and I was like, this is okay. And then by the end, I fell completely in love with it. Like I loved it. It's one of my favorite things I watched this year.
Oh, interesting. So I feel like
it's possible that this could win me over. It's just the first three did not grab me enough. So I'll be curious to hear.
Hey, real quick, I was wondering if I could go off the script, because I did a little bonus homework this week.
Oh, yeah?
And If you permit me just a few moments, I could touch in on The Undoing over on HBO Max.
Ooh, you can.
Oh yeah,
We have an interview that would pair well with that, like a fine wine.
Yeah. Oh no. If I don't have anything good to say, should I stop?
No, he didn't write it.
No. This is created by David E. Kelly, and I imagine if you haven't seen any of the promotion on HBO Max, you've probably seen your friends on social media talking about it because it has a very divisive ending. I'm not giving anything away by that. It's one of those things that if you were watching it, you had to turn the internet off for a couple days until you got the season finale. But just real quick, what this is, it's 6 episodes, a story of murder and intrigue, affairs and lies, all that juicy, steamy stuff. Reminds me of something like Girl on a Train, where a lot of this is given to you just very straightforward, and then you'll get some stylized flashbacks, where characters are seeing scenes where we didn't see them in that scene, and are they trying to tell us something? And what happens is each of these episodes meander to a 75% way through point where you get a little bit of meat to chew on. And I was actually kind of impressed with this right when I was about to check out, because there's a point in every episode where I'm like, all right, I'm done. Then they just turn the knob just enough to keep you going, okay, I want to see how that plays off. But it feels like eating chicken wings where you're taking like a very little bit of meat off the bone and you're throwing away a bunch of like bone and, cartilage at the end.
Yeah.
Because, they take you through it. They give you a couple of turns and then they kind of bring it to a season finale where I found myself going into it just going, what would be a satisfying outcome? Like we're going to find out the whodunit. Like, which one of these would be like the most satisfying? Which would be the least satisfying? And I do think they probably picked one of the least satisfying ways to wrap this up. But if you're into this type of stuff, you watch these other Nicole Kidman HBO shows, you're probably going to get hooked into this. It's got Donald Sutherland in it. Hugh Grant is in it.
Lily Rabe.
Noah Jupe. How'd you say it?
Lily Rabe.
Oh, yeah. Lily Rabe's great, and you're gonna see her and go, "What do I know her from?" And instantly want to she's fantastic. All the other stuff you've seen her in.
Honey Boy.
Yeah, Noah Jupe, Honey Boy. Yeah, the kid who played Shia LaBeouf. He's in it. They have this great cast. This. If this was your thing, you've probably already watched it. But if you were on the fence, you might be able to skip this one. I don't think there's much you're missing out on.
Folks, next week can check out our interview with Michael Devine, who plays Detective Paul O'Rourke, the kind of rough around the edges detective.
Oh, those characters were badass. Him and his partner.
Yeah, him and Edgar Ramirez as Joe Mendoza.
Well, and that was one of the things that worked really well for me is you kind of see how they treat Nicole Kidman in the first couple episodes, and you're like, damn, these are these are good cops in terms like they're doing what they want to, they're a little Vic Mackey, like, not by the book, like trying to rattle her. And then they get to the court and it's like, oh, you guys did this. Well, here's why now everything else you did is worthless because you made a couple mistakes here. And you find out, oh, when you try to be a TV cop, like all your shit gets thrown out in court. Like you can't do that in real life because, everybody tracks everything and everything's recorded. And I don't know. It had a few interesting moments, but like I said, you have to work pretty hard to pick the meat off the bone with this one.
Unless you really, really love this type of show, you might pass.
Yeah. I definitely fell asleep in the season finale. I woke up and was like, oh, it was that person.
I'm undone.
It's brutal.
Yeah.
All right. So that'll wrap it up for us this week. Thank you, Kyle. Thank you, Les.
Thanks, Randy.
Thank you, Randy.
Thank you to our listeners. Thank you to our patrons. If you are a patron, or if you want to consider becoming a patron, you can jump on over to us talking about Escape from New York, the next in our John Carpenter-thon. Otherwise, we'll leave you here for the week. We'll be back next week with more. And until that time,
TV Dudes out!
The TV Dudes is an independently run podcast out of Austin, Texas. We are exclusively listener supported. If you'd like to help us out, go to patreon.com/tvdudes.
You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at TV Dudes. All the music for our show is done by our friend and original TV dude, Gregory J. Amani Smith.
To find out more about us, go to thetvdudes.com. I'm Randy Lander.
I'm Les Weiler.
And I'm Kyle Scott.
Thanks for listening.